hello again. Or I should say, hello world again. Yeah. Bad jokes, I won't try to make too many of those. So in our last lesson, we learned how to look at Visual Studio's files, to create a new file, to switch back and forth between files, how to delete a file, add a file. And if I didn't show you how to delete a file, just right click on it and select delete file. Not too hard. And also like what we see down at the console window at the bottom. But what we're going to do now is take a little step back, and I want to explain what variables are. And so a variable is basically just a fancy name for a key or a symbol for something that could be set to all kinds of different values. And if you wanted an analogy, you could think of it as being like a box. We could take that box and we could put a type of thing into that. Now, one complicating thing about that is like, hey, we have a particular type of box over here, and that can only hold certain types of things. And so if we have what is called a string variable, and again, a string is just like a set of words. It could be a single name. It can be a single letter. But it will only hold, words and stuff like that, text basically. But we'll have this box that can only hold words, right? And then we might have another box that could only hold numbers and so on. But for right now, we'll concentrate on that box which can hold a string. And again, the box is something that holds a string variable. And what we're putting into that box is called the value. And so you can think of that box as, again, being the way to hold that data. But how do we put that into code? We know what the box, the type of the box is, what it's supposed to hold, and we also know what we're going into. But how do we do that in code, actually? So let's take a step back again and look at our Hello World example right here. And we're going to delete this whole top line. Don't care about it right now. It's kind of useful, maybe. But we're not going to worry about that. And so what we're going to do is, let's take that console.write line and change it so it puts something else out. And let me stop here for a brief second and explain this. So console is, if you remember, last time around when we ran Hello World, it popped up a console which had that text in it, right? And anytime we refer to console, that just means like, hey, put this out in the console, so that we can see it. And write line is just a little thing that says, hey, console, take the words I'm giving to you, again, which is a string, take the words I'm giving to you and write them out. So in this case, we're talking to the console. We're saying, hey, console, write something out for me. And this is what I want you to write. Now, something to notice about this right here is we have these little parentheses, right? And I don't want to get too into the details with it yet, but essentially what that is a function, okay? And a function is something that we can tell the computer to do, which is generally like a sub piece of code, and it's sometimes can have different things passed to it so they can like use those things. In this case right here, write line itself is a function, and we're passing in to that function this little hello world string, right? So again, we have console. We say, hey, console, write this line. And since the console library knows what write line is, and knows that's a function, it'll expect something to be passed into here, which is our text, and that'll allow us to write that out. So now let's look at write line again, okay? So I'll hover over this right here, and this will kind of tell us at a high level what this is expecting. So basically, if you're trying to write a line and you don't have anything to write, the computer is just going to shrug and say, hey, I can't use this. You need to send me some text, right? So I'll come over here, I'll comment this, or I won't comment this out, but I'll delete this. So, hey, hello world's gone. And so if I try to run this, it'll run, but we're not really going to have anything. And this is because the code is looking for this. This may not give us an error, but it doesn't work, right? At least it sort of doesn't kind of work. But to the computer, it's meaningless. It doesn't know what we're going to put in there, you know? So for WriteLine to really work, we have to put something into that, right? And so what we're going to put in there is a string variable. Now, when it was in those quotes, I'll come up here and I'll reverse my change. These quotes are the same as a string variable. So you could think of this like saying that already has that box, and that's the value we're putting into that box, right? But most of the time, we don't put things like that inside the quotation marks. And this is because we want variables to change, or they stand for different things and so on. And again, the idea is variable. In other words, it can vary. Like let's say we have one box, we put hello into it, then we have another box, we put world into it, right? And if we really want to, we could change like the world one to be like somebody's name. So it could be like hello John. But again, we need to be telling the computer what that needs to say, right? We can't just assume that the computer is going to know that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we'll do string, which again, a string is just like a list of words. And that can also be like numbers mixed in with words. But I don't want to go too deep into that right now. So we'll just use words for the moment. So I'll come up here, I'll do string. Let's just say, have a good day. Of course, the person who's seeing that is saying, have a good day. Maybe they don't want to have a good day, but we'll just assume they do. So I could do this right here, but whoops, it's throwing an error of some sort, right? So let me look at this for a second, and I'll say, what if I put a semicolon on there because it's looking for a semicolon? I've got one right here. Let me put one right up here. And the little red squiggly under something is kind of how we know that the computer doesn't like it. So come up here, put a semicolon. Whoops, I still have a red squiggly. So let me go down and, let's just try to build this, okay? And building basically means that we take the text on the screen and we turn it into something the computer can understand. So we'll come up here and we'll click Build Solution, and whoops, we still have errors. So I needed a semicolon there. And in C#, a semicolon indicates the end of a statement. But right now we're just going to say it means the end of a line because our statements won't be very big yet. But sometimes you can have a statement which will span multiple lines, and you put a semicolon on the end of that so that the computer knows to stop with that and to basically start reading the next thing as like a separate bit of code. So like I had a semicolon down here that worked. I have one up here that doesn't work. So I'm saying it's a string, and I'm saying, okay, this is the value I want to put into it. Kind of weird, right? But anytime we're saying that there is a box, which is a variable, and some text, which is the value that we want to put into that box, we also have to get that box a name, right? So think about it this way. You would have like a bunch of boxes. You would know they all take text into them. But let's say that somebody took one of those boxes and moved it around. All of a sudden, you're like looking at the boxes, and we'll say the box is even taped up on top. You can't look inside of it. They all look like a plain cardboard box, right? So how do you know what box you're getting? You don't know, really. There's no numbers. There's no writing on the sides, right? And so if we do this where we say, okay, we have this string, and we have this string text over here, but we don't actually give this a name, then the computer's like, hey, I don't even know what you mean by this. I need a name on that. And so anytime we define a variable, which means to basically create a box in the code, we have to give that box a name, right? So we'll go over here and we'll click in front of that. So we have string, that's our type of box. And we'll put, we'll call this good day. So, okay, now we've got a name on our box, which kind of goes with have a good day, right? So far, so good. And we look again, it's like, well, crud. We still got an error right here, right? We look down, we still have pretty much the same errors. And the computer is saying, like, we don't like this, this is not cool, I don't know what to do with this. You told me we've got a type of the box. You told me what the name of the box is, and you have a value, but like I don't know that that value is supposed to go in that box. So we have to then tell the computer what value is actually going into that box. And so what we do to do this is what's called variable assignment. And that's kind of a fancy name just for saying we want to make this variable mean this value, okay? So in other words, it's like saying we have the box, we have the type of box it is, the name on the side of the box. We know what we want to put into the box, and assigning the value is simply saying what's actually going into that box, right? And so we come up here, and this is always done by the equal sign. And if you remember like 2 plus 2 equals 4, it's a little bit the same idea. And you could actually flip that around, say 4 equals 2 plus 2. But basically what we're doing is we're saying to the computer, like, this is the type of the box, this is what's going into that box, right? And so we'll hit equals to assign that variable. Okay, so far so good. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. We're coming up with hello world again. But, we put something out there in a box, but we're kind of missing a little step there, right? So we're saying, hey console, write out something, but we still have like the old hello world here, right? So what we want to do is we want to tell the computer, like, we want to write out something different besides hello world. So in other words, we want to go look at that box, pull something out, and put that something out on the screen. So what we'll do is we'll go over here, double click good day, and we'll copy this value. So you could do Control C, or you can also type it in down here too, but we'll just take the shortcut of using copy and paste. And so we'll go over here and we'll select paste. And all of a sudden we have good day down here, right? So we've got our box type, we've got the label on the side of the box, we have what's going in the box, or finally telling the computer what is actually going in that box, right? Have a good day is going in the good day box. Down here we're saying, hey console, I want you to write something. I want you to write out good day. And as you can probably guess, when this runs, instead of putting out hello world, it's going to write have a good day. So let's go ahead and try that. We'll come up here again, we'll click the project name, and this will run, and all of a sudden it comes up and it's, hey, have a good day. Pretty cool, right? And so this is really the first step into creating a true highly functional program, I think you'd say. And so like if we go back to the hello world in the console write line, what that text was called hard coding. And that's simply a term for saying that this thing is always going to have this value, okay? It's not going to vary like a variable. And hard coding can sometimes be useful in a program, but more often than not, we want to use variables. And this is because of variables, we could change what they mean, right? And so let's go ahead and do that real quick. I don't want to take too much more time on this, but let's say we have good day up here, okay? And we want to say, well, having a good day is like too positive. It's a Monday morning or something. So we'll just change, we want to say, hey, have an okay day. Because, if you say have a good day, people will have their expectations really high on a Monday and they'll, just be disappointed. So we'll go over here and we could do the same thing where we say string good day equals have an okay day. We could just like put the old ASCII expression on there for like a neutral face, not smiling or anything. But, okay, so we won't go ahead and run this, but we hit this, but, we have build errors. Dang. So we'll stop this right here. We'll go back up. Look, we have good day is under squiggle right there. And so we come down here and we see, a local variable or function named good day is already defined in the scope. And that's a fancy way for the computer saying, hey, you're trying to tell me if there's two boxes that take a string into it and they have the same name, which box do I use? And so there's different ways that we could solve this. We could come up here and say, have an okay day. Yeah, that would work. That would give us a new box. But let's say we don't want to have to create another box. So let's come back over here and say, good day. Now, we're saying we already have the box called good day, right? And this is what was going in originally. But now we're going to say, hey, we have the same box, but we want to put something different in it, okay? And so, as you could probably guess, that since we had good day, meaning have a good day up here originally, and we took the same box, but we put something different in it, you know, what's going to show up down here is going to be something totally different, all right? So we'll go ahead and run the project one more time. It's going to come up and say have an okay day with a kind of a, it's a Monday face. So basically what we've learned in this lesson is that we can take a box, which is called a variable. We can tell the computer what type of box that is. We can figure out what's going into that box, and then we tell the computer to put that value inside the box. And we also know that we need to have, you know, either create differently named boxes, or we have to take the same box we have and put a different value into it. And last of all, we looked over here, we saw a console, which will pop that console up of text. Write line, which will write something in it. And finally, whatever we call the name of that box. And so right here, this is the very basics of programming with variables and changing how we can send variables to the computer. Good stuff, basic stuff, but this is like a real cornerstone of programming. And so the next lesson, we'll kind of look at a few other odds and ends of things we could do with strings, ways we can manipulate them, copy them, join them, and so on. So until next time,